Shalom, all praise to Yahweh Shem Shah, the blind see Apostle GMS. This is Noah Allah coming at you in the video. And I want to do another video going into, like being slothful. And I want to get more scriptures, because this is an important topic. Okay? I want to go to the book of Proverbs, 24th chapter. And I want to start at verse 30. Get right to it. I went by the field of the slothful. In other words, by the lazy. And by the vineyard of the man void of understanding. So let's stop right there. Now a field in the vineyard, slothful, void of understanding. So what is it implying? The field of the slothful, vineyard of the man void of understanding. So a slothful man is a man that's void of understanding. That word slothful. Atazal. Sluggish, lazy, sluggish. So if you're a person that's sluggard, you're someone that's void of understanding, because in this truth, you got to be, what's that, it says in the book of Peter, you have to be, what's that, 1 Peter 1 and 10, I believe? You have to give diligence to make your calling and election sure. 2 Peter 1 and 5. So it says, I went by the field of the slothful, and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding. So a man that's void of understanding is a slothful man. Because we have to be diligent to make a calling and election sure. We have to be fervent, have an intense passion and enthusiasm for this truth. So if you don't have that, you're void of understanding. So a slothful man is a man that's void of understanding, because he's putting things off. Let me get something real fast. Sirach 5 and 7, or also known as Ecclesiasticus chapter 5 verse 7. Make no tarrying to turn to the Lord. So don't tarry, don't be slothful, don't be slow, don't delay to turn to the Lord. And putting that off from day to day. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it after that. I'll do it after that. I'll do it after that. You don't want to do that. You don't want to be putting it off. Why? For suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth. Because suddenly the wrath of the Most High can come forth. You putting something off day by day, then that wrath of Yahweh Shem Shah can come suddenly. You may have put something off for a week. Well, if you would have did it that third day, or that, obviously the first time, of course. But I'm saying, the more and more you put it off, the greater the judgment can be. The more you can be caught off guard. And in that security, thou shalt be destroyed, right? In your security, thou shalt be destroyed, because you're putting it off from day to day, because you feel secure. You feel at ease, you feel relaxed. You don't think anything's going to happen. So you feel secure. Well, I could put it off tomorrow. And I could do it another day. I'll do it another day. It's like, let's say you got a car that needs gas. Right? And you know it's almost on E. But you know where you got to drive tomorrow. And you know you're not really driving that far. You've driven that place before, low on gas, and you got there and got back. You're just putting it off. And then when that day, you put another day. Then you underestimate how far your car can go when it's almost on E. And then you're driving and your car starts getting slow. Starts going slower and slower. You're putting your foot on that pedal to make the car go. But the car's not increasing the speed, it's actually decreasing. Why? Because there's no gas left, so the car can no longer move. You put it off from day to day. Now look at the situation you're in. You're on the side of the road right now. The closest gas station, you Google it, the closest gas station is 3 miles away. Walking distance is 1 hour and 10 minutes. You can't move your car at all. You better hope you're not next to a hydrant, or you're not on the highway. You gotta go to the gas station. Then you gotta buy a gas can. It might cost however much money it is. It may be depending upon the size. Then you gotta pay for gas. Then you gotta walk back with it. I hope your car didn't get towed, you gotta keep. Or something, or whatever. Hope your car didn't get hit. Something. It's depending on where your car is at. Because if your car's in the middle of the street, you gotta put it in neutral. You gotta turn the wheel. You gotta push it. So all kind of stuff you gotta do. You want to get it completely off the road, from the middle of the street. You know what I mean? But if you can't move it now, your car is just stuck. You gotta call a tow truck. See that? You put it off. Like a person says, my so-called New Year's resolution is to get in shape. You kept putting it off and putting it off. You was 240 pounds in 2017. Now in 2025, you 316 pounds. You gained a bunch of weight. You kept putting it off. Look at you now. Using that as an example. But you putting off turning to the Lord, and you're going to be destroyed in your security. You disregarding your how about Shem Shah's word. You disregarding your duty as a believer, as a follower, and perish in the day of vengeance. And you're going to you make it put to death. You're going to put to death in the day of vengeance. Okay, now it's time to judge this guy. He kept putting it off. So you got to pay close attention, man. Put this truth first. It's important. I'm not saying you could never, make a mistake. I'm not saying it's impossible. But you want to minimize that. Which that's only going to happen if you how about you put that spirit on you. So I went by the Proverbs 24 and 30. I went by the field of the slothful, and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding. And lo, it was grown all over with thorns. And nettles had uncovered the face of it. What is nettles? See, nettles are plants, particularly of the genus Urtica, known for their stinging hairs. They are commonly found. Say what's commonly found at. Basically, this is a stinging plant. So you saw an image there. You saw an image of it. And lo, it was all grown over with thorns, and nettles had covered the face thereof. So this man is slothful, lazy, and he's void of understanding. He's so slothful, he's not tending to the field. He's such a man void of understanding, he's not taking into account the results of his slothfulness. It's going to cause that field, that vineyard, to be grown over with thorns and nettles because he's not taking care of it. He's not trimming it, not trimming the plants. He's not plucking up the weeds. I'm just giving you different, examples of how you take care of a field. He's not taking out the plants that he don't want to. Let me get rid of these plants with thorns. Let me get rid of these nettles. Let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of that. He's not paying attention. And it becomes wild. The vineyard becomes untamed. Plants aren't trimmed or pruned. You got plants that are growing that you don't want there. And it becomes wild. So it says, lo, it was all grown over with thorns, and nettles had covered the face thereof, and the stone wall thereof was broken down. So, and when you have a vineyard, you may have a stone wall, a wall of stone. The purpose of that wall is to keep men out, to keep beasts out, to keep them out from coming into your garden and stealing anything, destroying anything. Okay? This is indicative of a slothful man who was void of understanding. And the stone wall broken down. A stone wall is what? A defense, right? Now in construction, there's a term called access and egress. In general, access refers to, this is from AI Overview, access refers to the act of entering or reaching something, while egress refers to the act of leaving or exiting something. So it's entering and exiting, right? So if that stone wall of the vineyard is broken down, guess what? You had no defense. You had no protection. You had no hedge. Satan now has access and egress into that man. He can enter, he can exit. He can go in and out as he please. He can bring in 7 more spirits more powerful than himself. That's what that demon can do. Because the stone wall broken down, that hedge, that defense, that fortress is down. It's destroyed. Luke 11:24. When the unclean spirit is going out of a man, he walketh through dry places seeking rest, and finding none, he said, I will return unto my house whence I came out. So if you have an unclean spirit in you, right, and it goes out of you, let's say it leaves you, it's walking through dry places seeking rest and finding none. In other words, that unclean spirit is looking for someone else to go into. Let's say the unclean spirit can't find anyone, right? It goes back into the house or to that man, that person that it came out of. But why? because the spirit came out of that man, but that man didn't do, or woman, but they didn't do what was necessary to build their spirit to prevent that demon from coming back on them. So guess what? It returns back to the house of which it came out. So a demon left you, but you probably wasn't fasting, praying, wasn't being fervent in the spirit, but you're doing necessary to build your spirit to prevent that demon from coming back on you. And guess what? That demon left and it came right back to the house that it came out of. Okay? And another word for house is house is another word for body. Get the word house real fast. Oikos. Doesn't really give you much there.
The Strong's G 3624. Oikos.
Oikos right here. Any dwelling place of the human body as the abode of demons that possesses it. That possess it. There you go. So you know it's talking about the human body that a demon possesses. And when he cometh, he findeth it swept and garnished. So he goes back into this house. Let's look at it like an actual house now, right? The house is swept, is clean, is garnished, is properly furnished, the floors are polished. It's great. It's a place fit for a king, so to speak. In other words, it's a place that is furnished for dwelling in. So when that spirit comes back into that man is swept and garnished. He's like that house is swept and garnished. His body is swept and garnished. In other words, like a house that's swept and garnished, it's swept, it's clean from top to bottom, it's furnished, it's fit to be dwelled in. Well, that's a likeness of that man's body. It's swept and garnished. It's fit for the dwelling of that demon to come back. You're basically inviting the demon back in because he didn't do what was needed to keep it out. And it came to pass as he spake. And they entered in. Then goeth he and taketh to him 7 other spirits more wicked than himself. Now 7 means completion. It can mean more than 7. And they enter in. Like the word several. Several doesn't really mean 7. There was several people over there. It could have been 10 or 12. Just using that as an example. And they enter in and dwell there. And the last day of that man is worse than the first. He ends up worse now than he was before. Because that spirit brought 7 other demons that was more wicked than him. They were more wicked than it was. Okay? And they entered in and they dwelt there. And the last day of that man is worse than the first. He's worse in the end now than he was prior. But when the demon came out, he didn't got out of him. He didn't keep it out of him. So now it's even stronger. So maybe going through something in the truth spiritually, but you didn't do what was needed to keep that spirit out when that spirit finally left you. When that wicked spirit finally left you. And now it's coming back and it's even stronger than before. That could happen. You gotta take heed to that. You know? Last scripture. Proverbs 26 and 15. The slothful hideth his hand in his bosom. Look at the word bosom.
Strong's H 6747.
Tazadath. Dish, bowl. So it says, the slothful hideth his hand in his bosom. So he takes his hand and he puts into a dish, into a bowl, right? And it grieveth him to bring it again to his mouth. So this person's so slothful that they can't even take their hand, put it into a bosom or a dish, and take it out and feed themselves. That's how slothful they are. They're so slothful that the easy task of taking your hand and putting it into a dish and feeding yourself is a burden to him. It grieves him to do that. That's how slothful he is. That's the likeness of a person that's in the truth, that has the scriptures, that has the holy scriptures, that has the means to gain the knowledge, but they don't have the wherewithal, the spirit, to put in the work, to be fervent, to be diligent, to be passionate, to actually go into the scriptures and acquire the wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and faith, which is necessary for their own salvation. That's how slothful they are. That's what it's being likened unto. A person that takes his hand and put it in the dish, it grieves him to bring it again to his mouth. In other words, it grieves him to even take his hand out of that dish with the food in his hand to give himself that proper nourishment by eating. Well, that's likened unto a person who won't even give themselves, who are too slothful to even give themselves um, that which nourishes the spirit. See? It's weariness unto him to do what's right in the sight of the Lord. That's how lazy he is. Quick scripture. Isaiah 3:1. For behold, the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shah of hosts, doth take away from Jerusalem and from Judah the stay and the staff, all forms of support, the whole stay of bread and the whole stay of water. So all forms of support, all forms of nourishment. Because a staff supports you. Mashan, ma, sha'ain. Support staff, see? That's what support does. Staff does. Sustenance, it says sustenance. So the Most High is going to take away that from Jerusalem. The mighty man and the man of war, the judge and the prophet, and the prudent and the ancient. The captain of 50 and the honorable man and the counselor and the cunning artificer and the eloquent orator. So I'm going to take that away from y'all. Okay? So a person who takes a slothful man that takes his hand, put it into his bosom, what is a dish or a bowl, and agree with him to even feed him, to take his hand out, to even feed himself and provide himself that nourishment necessary for the body. That's an example of a person that's so slothful in spirit that agree with them to do what's right for the nourishment of the spirit. So the Most High said, you know what? Since you're so grieved to even feed your own self that you would starve, I'm going to give you a starvation, but of a starvation rather of famine of the word. You're so lazy, you'll take your hand, put it in a dish, and you won't even feed yourself to provide yourself nourishment for the body. You rather starve. So I'm not going to bring upon you a physical famine. I'm going to bring upon you a spiritual famine. That's a likeness. That's like a person who won't even open up a Bible and read it and do things that's necessary to read it and do things that's necessary to obtain salvation. See? And that's ultimately because the Most High haven't given him that spirit. The sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render reason. That's another example of a sluggard. They think they're wiser than 7 men. That word conceit. Conceit has 2 main meanings in literature. It refers to a complex, often far-fetched metaphor or overextended simile, and generally refers to excessive self-esteem or pride. So they think they're wiser than 7 wise men that can render a reason. 7 judges. So if you try to tell them the right thing, they still don't want to hear it. Ultimately leads to their damnation. So they're the vineyard, they're slothful. Went to the field of the slothful in the vineyard, a man of understanding, and it was grown with thorns and nettles, and the stone wall was broken down. So Satan had access and egress. He can go in and out whenever he chose. The wall's broken down, so Satan can easily just come in. There's no hedge. There's nothing to protect you. It's easy for you to be tempted now. Okay? James 1:14, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. So it's easy for them to be drawn away now. Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringeth forth death. And back in Proverbs 24:32, then I saw and considered it well. I looked upon it and received instruction. So he looked upon this and he said, let me look at this. Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands. That's like a slothful man. And just sleep a little bit more. A little folding the hands, sleep some more, sleep a little bit more. Being slothful, don't want to awaken and do his duties, but just be lazy. So shall thy poverty come as one that travelleth, and as thy want as an armed man. So your poverty gonna come upon you suddenly, like a person that's traveling and robbed. Remember the Good Samaritan story? Okay, it spoke about a person. It spoke about a person that was robbed and left for dead. So your poverty will come upon you suddenly like a thief. And thy want as an armed man, a thief will come in secret. An armed man comes with force, comes with aggression, comes with violence. See, your poverty will come upon you like that because you're doing what? You're being slothful. Therefore, it's going to lead to you being impoverished. And it's going to come upon you like a thief. It's going to come upon you with force and with violence, like an armed man. So you got to take good heed. And I want to end it here. I want to go to James 1:14 and got this word drawn away. And end it here.
Strong's G 1828. Exelco.
Exelco. Metaphorically, lure forth. In hunting and fishing as game is lured from his hiding place, so man is by lure is a lure from the safety of self-restraint to sin. See, that slothfulness, it leads you into sin, which could lead to death. In James 1:14, the language of the hunting is transferred to the seduction of a harlot. See? So it's like being seduced by a harlot. Okay? You lack self-restraint. So you gotta take heed, let's just this pretty how about Shai, pray the Most High to give you a strong spirit. And don't put the spirit of slackness and slothfulness upon you. That's what we gotta pray for. So with that, I'm gonna close and say, praise Yahweh Shai, that belongs to the Apostle GMS, or but learn something, Shalom.